Welcome, everyone. Happy Sunday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Sunday, December 28th, 2025. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? Can I please have the first two cards in our 5 card spread for today? We've got the Six of Swords in its upright in combination with the Page of Swords in its reversal. Let's talk a little bit about this energy right now, my friends. So, I'm just going to keep on saying this. We are not going through a Venus in retrograde cycle, but you would be surprised because Venus between Mars and Mercury can often create the space by which we feel energetically frustrated, right? We don't feel like we're operating at our best. But at the same time, we feel that sense of excitability and relationality to feeling like we have to play a little bit of energetic catch up. So I want you to kind of recognize that right now, because the thing that we see and we're getting into, there's a lot of energetic alignment that's potentially happening right now. And we're also seeing that it's a culmination of a lot of those moon relationships. So being able to effectively identify and articulate or work through the context of the self by which one is working on doing something better. I actually feel like the positive, I'm going to talk to you guys about the positivity points and navigating energy like this. This is beautiful energy for productivity, beautiful energy for creativity. Venus and Mars in Capricorn is often being able to take something that's energetically frustrating you and put it directly into something that you care about, right? It can allow for the context of being able to effectively do something in a better way. And a lot of that conveyance point is important. What you want to avoid right now, what you want to avoid is emotions that come before direction. Because at the same time that we've got a lot of this energy right now, that same modality or that same experience working through the context of the strong emotions, what you want to avoid is feeling very energetically emotional and putting it into the space or place by which it doesn't feel like it creates clarity, right? I keep on getting a lot of this right now because the thing that we have to be conscientious about is like Mars and Venus in such close proximity can often speak to us of the capacity or the ability by which we're working on how we energetically feel about things. And what I keep on getting in relationality to a lot of this work is a further continuation in the conversation, in being able to effectively have healthy direction towards things. We're also seeing that this is the culmination of a lot of those moon relationships. And for a lot of those moon relationships, and I'm going to kind of go through it because I've been seeing that there's been a bit of energetic splitting that's happening. For energy in solitude right now, the moon lessons often speak to us upon the beauty of energetically refining upon something, right? The work that we do to energetically refine upon things is often something that takes a lot of time, right? Refinement takes time. And the ability by which we are patient with ourselves allow us the ability to effectively do something better, right? It allows us the context of being able to work through something. And what we see in a lot of these relationships that have been coming together during this period is working into the context of that refinement. That these are relationships, and I just want to show you, these are relationships, right? That, and again, what we said these started around September, October, November. Like, yeah, this has almost been like 5 months of relationship. It hasn't been easy. There's been hurdles, right? There's potentially been a lot of external hurdles, like ridiculous situations, things that feel like they energetically vex the self. But the observation, like this is the gift of these relationships. They don't internalize external problems, They don't externalize external problems. They observe and recognize what it is that they're working upon doing in a better way, right? They're observing and working towards that. And that ability of effectively working towards those capacities or working through those modalities, it's it's not perfect, but it's never perfect when we're energetically refining. Because when we're working towards that point of refinement, that ability of doing so allows for, I keep wondering, it allows for beautiful things to occur. Now, for a lot of these relationships, I either see relationships that are moving into deeper partnership, and the conversation that they're having in those modalities or in those experiences are specifically driven towards the difference. Like, I keep wondering, the difference between something that is energetically impossible versus something that is energetically possible over time, right? The observation and being able to work through something that allows one to be able to get energetically better at it. And there's a lot of that energy that we see here. And those modalities, I feel like the space by which they're building into connection is the experience by which they appreciate the patience that they have for one another, right? It's literally, these are relationships that are built upon and based upon mutual easement. Because when we're working to refine the self, we work into the context of feeling the ease by which we bring towards things. So for a lot of those relationships, I feel like there's a lot of that modality by which they're moving deeper into partnership with the amplification and relationality to how easy they make things for one another. Now, this brings us to those relationships. I do see that there are some separations that are occurring at this time, and I keep on getting this. It's a conversation in relationality to the time we need to work things through as it relates to relationship, right? Remember that we articulated that these moon relationships have been going through a lot of things, but they've been holding fast to each other as they navigate them, right? It's the space by which they feel that sense of energetic harmony through the rockiness of the experience that's surrounding them. It's easy to articulate the desire for a manifestation goal. Very different to be able to come into the fortitude by which one needs to arrive towards it. So that's why we see that for a lot of these relationships, those modalities or those experiences by way and by means of the fact of another, potentially, I keep on hearing the space by which there may have been some separations that occurred earlier in the fall. Somebody effectively, again, we can see this with Saturn and Pisces coming out of retrograde. Someone coming back to a situation that they left at a point of conflict, articulating upon the fact that they're ready to navigate the feelings that required them to move away from it. It's the observation that feelings, the articulation of feelings don't repair things unless feelings have healthy directions attached to them. And in fact, often the modality by which we articulate that we're ready to talk about our feelings is sometimes conducive to the observation of the fact that we effectively, like, it's working into the space by while another person's ruminating upon whether they want to articulate their feelings, everyone else is experiencing them, right? Everyone else is feeling them, right? It's like, it's the misambiguation that the ability to talk about the feelings allows something to be able to get done. But often the difference between working through feelings that feel like they're helpful versus emotions that feel like they overcomplicate is the space by which we're able to stay energetically consistent in relationality to how we feel about things. And that's why I see that there may be some energetic separations that are occurring here. And the difficulty point isn't the fact of someone coming back towards another with the amplification of the fact that they have feelings, but the observation of the fact that when we have feelings that we're ready to navigate, right? we don't need to take time to resolve them. Relationships are the places are like relationships are the playground of the emotions, right? It's a space by which we allow for the context by which the emotions find that place to be able to reside. So we keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy right now, there could be the modality of there is a modality here of coming into like healing, but the healing has to do with the energetic readiness that another person brings to a relationship and whether they like whether they're energetically ready for it. Now, this brings us to, and some of these relationships that I'm seeing right now are potentially going through both of those modalities at the same time, right? The observation of working through the emotions in the space by which they're building into a healthy relationship that feels like it's productive. It's not perfect, but it's working. That's the sound of something that is refining versus the difference between some like the capacity of a relationship that isn't in a sustainable place because it requires another person to go away from it in order to facilitate staying within it. Right. And that can often be conducive of understanding the pathwork of the resiliency that's needed in order to maintain a healthy relationship. Now, center card for today's spread, moving to the temperance relationships. And for our purposes, the temperance relationships were the relationships that were coming together between the time of Uranus stationing retrograde this fall up until the solstice period that we had this summer. Center card for today's spread, we've got the two of Pentacles in its upright. So let's talk a little bit about this Two of Pentacles, because the Two of Pentacles that we're effectively identifying here has a lot to do with the Two of Pentacles works us into the context of understanding and recognizing. And I keep on getting this. The beauty of those temperance relationships was everything is possible so long as the work is mutual. The ability to be energetically adaptable, but not just adaptable, to be able to recognize and identify what one is trying to work upon. The hard part about this energy right now is I keep on seeing that a lot of these temperance relationships are deep within. They're deep within these. They're deep within these. The space by which we find Venus is between Mars and Mercury right now, which is often the space by which it's not that we're going through a Venus in retrograde cycle, but it feels like one. Sometimes feeling the sense of being overly harsh or critical to the self. And what's effectively nice about those relationships is counterpart that acts as a clear mirror, being able to amplify or articulate upon something in a way that allows the observation of what can effectively become beautiful or better, right? And so that's a lot of the energy that is working in a reflective capacity by helping each other see the self with a deeper sense of clarity. It's the observation of effectively working through something, but in such a way that allows the energy to be able to keep perspective, even if they feel, right? Like even if they feel like they're going through an energetic funk, which can sometimes come through Venus being between those two planetary systems. Now, fourth and fifth card in our 5-card spread, moving towards those magician relationships. The magician relationships were effectively coming together between the solstice period up until the time of Mercury and Venus stationing direct behind Neptune, which is around March. We've got Queen of Pentacles in its upright and King of Swords in its upright. Look at these energies. Nothing but business here. This is the energy going nothing but business. This is exactly what we can expect, because this is Mars and Venus in Capricorn, right? Mars and Venus in Capricorn is a conversation on what feels energetically productive. It's working into the context of feeling the energetic stabilization point of the self, right? And I feel like it's interesting because it's funny to see. It's funny to me to see the magician relationship standing on business, right? And why do we see those magician relationships that are standing on business? Because we saw that for a lot of those relationships, situations and circumstances that effectively articulate or define or work towards something in a capacity by which another person is able to articulate to another what feels energetically reasonable. I've got a lot of this energy here that works into the context of identifying and recognizing what feel like I just keep on hearing like completely logic based at this time, right? That's what's interesting about these magician relationships is they're observing and they're taking that analytical approach to things. But I keep on seeing the it's the working through the understanding that not all two standards are alike, right? That somebody will often, like I just keep on seeing this with those magician relationships. Somebody will often articulate that we're not meeting their standards, but we can see the fact that their standards are trauma in disguise, right? And what does it look like? What does it look like when trauma is in disguise, right? What is it? What is a standard? What's trauma in disguise as a standard? Something that feels like it's energetically ridiculous and unreasonable and doesn't have any ground in, like, doesn't, like, I keep on hearing imaginary rules, right? Like that is a trauma. That is a that is trauma in disguise. It's an imaginary rule that only feels like it energetically pleases the self. A standard is something that we can articulate the logic upon it, right? Something that is a true standard is something that one can speak around, right? You speak around the standard. It's the observation of being able to articulate on it. And so this is what we see. Like I feel like there's a lot of that energy that is working towards what feels productive. And I keep on hearing it's interesting because I feel like it's very welcoming energy, right? It's the energy that would delight in a conversation and the energy that can tell, like they can tell the fact that they're in a healthy space, because when we welcome healthy conversation, we know that we're like we like it's like the right, it's like the energy that like like that, like I see that energy like working through that, and it feels stabilizing, like it feels empowering. But it also, like, I feel like there's a lot of resilience that we're also seeing in those modalities. Continuing to get clarification between our Six of Swords in its upright and our Page of Swords in its reversal. Can I get one card to clarify, please? King of Cups in its reversal, moving back into those moon relationships. What do we see? What do we see with those moon relationships? So, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of this energy right now. A lot of those relationships that are moving deeper, like moving deeper into partnership. And everything everything that we're energetically seeing there, like the one thing I'm recognizing or identifying in those modalities is, how do I describe this? There's something to be said in terms, like there's something to be said. This is a continuation of the lesson that we see in those relationships that have to do with healthy emotion, right? The healthy emotion that has direction, and the observation that our emotions, like the emotions that we feel, can often create the context by which we don't necessarily feel like the need to deal with them, but the ability to effectively work into the framework of the self, right? Our job is not to dissociate from our emotions. And actually, the ability to disassociate from emotions makes it harder to navigate emotions, right? Because the emotions don't go anywhere, right? What happens with the emotions that you don't deal with? They go into the unconscious. They run everything. So our own ability to effectively articulate or amplify or work through something in such a way that we're able to articulate to another upon how we feel about something. I just keep on seeing for a lot of those relationships, the beauty of those moon relationships is there's, like, they've been going through all of these energetic frustrations. And even in the context by which they've been going through those frustrations, they're just getting better, is what I keep on hearing. They're just getting better, right? Like every problem becomes a new lesson, right? Every hurdle becomes an easement point. So there's a lot of work that we see that's happening in those modalities or experiences, but not just in the context by which they're working through that. They're appreciating, like they're articulating to each other the vast appreciation that they have for one another, because they're each other's source of peace, right? It's the observation of the peace that they bring to one another that allows for the ability to be able to articulate why these relationships are moving deeper into partnership. And the same conversation that's happening right now as it relates to separations, it's almost like I see energy coming into separation. Someone being like, I brought all these feelings. Another person being like, I know you brought feelings, but did you bring any peace? Right? Did you bring peace? Like, did you bring peace with those feelings? Because those modalities or those experiences by which we articulate or amplify the peace that we bring to each other is the space by which we don't, the space by which we don't create energetic frustration for one another, right? It's the adaptability or the easement by which we're able to effectively refine or move through an energetic experience. So for a lot of relationships or a lot of situations, energy facilitating upon that work, I just keep on seeing the same, I keep on seeing like the same modality of experience there, because it's the energy that effectively, like, even if there's those modalities by which there's energy moving into separation, there's conversations upon the what feels like, I keep on hearing the love that energetically feels like it nourishes, because it's the work that we do within ourselves so that our love feels like peace to those who experience it from without. Now, continuing those temperance relationships, clarification between the Page of Swords in its reversal and the Two of Pentacles in its upright. We've got the King of Wands in its reversal. And so the King of Wands in its it's upright. And it's interesting that I said reversal, because the King of Wands that we see in its upright here is working through, like, the energy feels, I need to point this out, the energy feels right now like they're in a King of Wands in its reversal. It's the feeling of frustration that nothing is energetically happening, right? But this is often why I feel like the healthy counterpart connection is such that we give each other the gift of perspective, right? Because what are the counterparts saying? Like, I know you don't feel like anything is working, but you have to be energetically patient right now, right? It's a time of patience. We've got Mercury behind Venus and Mars. So that observation of effectively feeling that point of frustration, but permitting and allowing the frustration to lead us into modalities or pathworks by which something becomes energetically resolved or healed. I just keep on seeing that for a lot of those relationships, like, the perspective that they're giving to each other is the energetic blessing that they're providing to one another. Continuing to get clarity between our Two of Pentacles in its upright and our Queen of Pentacles in its upright. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through with the Ace of Wands in its reversal. And I have to describe, like, the thing with an Ace of Wands, the thing with an Ace of Wands in its reversal has to do, and I like to point this out, I've been talking about this, wands in any context are always positive, right? The modality or the experience by which we're able to articulate or define or refine upon something, but not just in the space by which we're able to refine upon it. This is a lot of energy right now. Like the magicians, like the ability to understand what is productive is often amplified and articulated upon pathwork of purpose. And I feel like I see a lot of that energy working through the modality or the experience by which they're working to identify or recognize what that purpose feels like. And there's something important in relationality to building into that context of purpose, because I just keep on seeing that for a lot of those relationships, the clarity or the cleansing that's coming through has to do with what feels, I keep on hearing what feels practical, supportive, and intentional, right? The ability to recognize or identify, like, what that work is. And I feel like it's interesting too, because I keep on hearing this with a lot of those magician relationships, without exception. And why do I keep on hearing without exception? Because the modality by which, and it's interesting because the modality by which we understand things is often working through the modality or the experience by which we're working to energetically resolve upon something. But I keep on getting not just in the space by which we're energetically working to resolve upon something, but the space by which, the space by which we don't look for reasons to be energetically upset is what I keep on hearing. And I think that there's something important that I'm reading into right now with this energy, because when one is deep, and these are things that we often have to recognize in relationality to an egoic journey. Looking for reasons to be upset is often the feeling by which you're navigating a point of dissatisfaction, and you're looking for something to project it out on, right? We've all had modalities, or we've all had experiences by which we've recognized or identified that, like the unhappiness of the self that is looking for something to project that into. And this is why it's so important when we're doing the work in relationship to effectively find healthy places to put our energetic frustration, right? Healthy places to put our frustration are often articulated in new rules, right? Like often the space by which and again, that's a standard, right? When we have frustration that continues to be pervasive and we move it into something that is productive, ta-da, a standard is created. Isn't that amazing? It's like, look at the magical, watch the magic thing that happens when you take all that frustration that you feel and you allow it to set your intention, right? Like, it is literally frustration plus direction is the modality by which a standard is created. And those experiences by which we set those standards allow for profound changes to occur. So if you're looking for a manifestation to happen, get busy working on those standards. Because that is the modality. Those are the points that help one reach the healthy manifestation goal. But often what happens in the modality by which you see someone who self-sabotages, someone who energetically self-sabotages will take all of that frustration, and instead of putting it into a standard, will transform it into a projection, right? They'll try to move it away from the self. They'll try to push it as far away from the self as possible. And what happens in those experiences is everybody around them, right? Everyone around them looks at someone and says, "What's their problem?" It's what's their energetic problem? And the problem is, instead of building standards, they're building into projection. So the modality and experience, I feel like these are the conversations that are happening a lot right now with some of that energy that is deeply invested. Like, these magician relationships are effectively, I feel like this is energy that's literally trying to articulate to someone why they are, I literally see, and I feel like it's painful because I can see this energy being like, what happened to you and them? A relationship. And then being like, why did the relationship affect it? Because it was healthy, right? Because it was like the energy that articulates upon the fact that they're grieving the fact that they're losing, if they're feeling like they're energetically losing something unhealthy because they're moving towards a healthy relationship. This is the conversation that they're effectively having. And this is a lot of the work that they're doing to help articulate and identify the space by which they're working upon doing something better. And it's like, I can see the energy feeling frustrated, right? Because that's the problem when you're experiencing trauma. It's ridiculous. It's not necessary. It feels excessive. Continuing to get clarification between our Queen of Pentacles and our King of Swords. One card to clarify. Yeah, eight of Wands in its upright. So let's talk a little bit about that Eight of Wands in its upright, because this is exactly what we're seeing right now. And I need to point this out. The Ace of Wands in its reversal with the Eight of Wands in its upright is the conversation in relationality to what feels energetically productive, is what we keep on seeing. And that modality of productivity is the state or the space by which we recognize and understand, and we build into the context of, and it's interesting too, because it feels very Sagittarian. Hold on a moment. Yeah, and it makes sense because Mercury is still in Sagittarius. And so the thing is, with Mercury in Sagittarius, the observation, and I keep on seeing this, especially with some of these, especially with some of these moon relationships that are coming together right now. Like the observation, and I want to stress this. These relationships that are coming together right now, they're beautiful because it's the understanding of the self, not just in the context of the relationship that allows that creates the space of being the self, but these are relationships that hold this the ability to navigate each other's facets, is what I keep on getting. These are I'm not surprised. These are moon relationships. These are multifaceted relationships. And the modality by which we recognize the fact that they're multifaceted relationships is the observation of understanding. And this is what's beautiful. I need to point this out. This is what's beautiful. This is the gift that you get when you do your shadow work effectively. You want to know the gift you get when you do your shadow work effectively? Even when you're your worst, you're your best. That is the goal. Even when you're your worst, you're your best, right? The modality of understanding that the work that we do upon the self is never the understanding that we're energetically perfect. It is the understanding that even when we feel like we are the energetic worst, we are still our energetic best, right? It doesn't bring out things in us that we do not know are there. It doesn't bring out some kind of like abysmal thing from like the depths of the abyss. It brings out something that articulates and puts their energetic foot down, that speaks from a point of stability, that holds into something in a way that we energetically remember who we are. Right? The observation of going through experiences, but not letting it change us, but helping us see ourselves with more clarity and being able to embrace what we energetically find there. It's often those modalities, and I feel like that's what's beautiful about some of these relationships that are coming through right now, right? It's going through that retrograde. It was going through that retrograde cycle, like boom, 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 like all of that awful energy that we were experiencing in relationality to frustrations and anger and fury and working through all of that. But then even in the context by which we feel that, right? Even in the context by which we navigate those modalities or experiences, even in those contexts, we still hold into, right? We still energetically hold into the space by which we feel energetically stabilized or supported, right? The modality by which we effectively see. And I feel like that's what's beautiful about a lot of those relationships that are coming together right now. It's the observation, right? It's the energetic observation of feeling that energetic capacity in relationality to what it is that they're effectively building upon with one another. And not just the modality by which they're building into the context of what it is that they feel or build upon with one another, but the observation of effectively identifying and recognizing and working through the capacity of being able to articulate and amplify and reach into the space by which they see, like they hold each other with that sense of energetic clarity. So for a lot of that energy, like even working through those rough parts, like that is the energy that effectively articulates because they see, right? They can perpetually see that ability of effectively moving towards things in a positive direction. Continuing to get clarification between our King of Cups in its reversal and the King of Wands in its upright. Can I get one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with the Moon card in its reversal. So what do we see right now with the Moon card in its reversal? The Moon card in its reversal speaks to us upon modalities and experiences. And this is what I meant about the culmination of a lot of those energetic cycles, because this is what we effectively see. For the temperance relationships, it's also working into the context of being able to be energetically adaptable, but not just being adaptable, being patient with one another through our own feelings of frustration, through our own feelings of, I keep on getting through those energetic moments or modalities by which we don't necessarily feel our energetic best. I keep on seeing that for a lot of those relationships, that ability of effectively working through the capacity of being hard on the self and the counterpart that effectively delivers clarity, right? There's a lot of those modalities or experiences that I see or recognize that the energy is going through, because I can see that energy's articulating and saying, like, if you are trying to be exceptional, be easy. Like, be easy even in the space by which you're doing that, right? Like that modality or that experience by which another person articulates or amplifies, right? Like, it's the energy that says, like be patient as you're effectively working towards that higher version of self. Because I keep on getting like the hard part, the hard part with a lot of these energies right now is working into the context of feeling those frustrations. But I keep on getting the frustration that feels like it's energetically fortified because the clarity of counterpart is helping another person see themselves with clarity. Continuing to get clarification between our King of Wands and the Ace of Wands in its reversal. We've got the King of Pentacles in its reversal. Now, this is really important right now, because I got to tell you, and if you are a tarot nerd, make sure that you go ahead and look at today's spread. We've got all of the We've got all of the King cards. All of the King cards out on the deck. All of the King cards are out. And that is exceptional. Now, and I want to describe this too, because what we're effectively seeing right now for a lot of these, relationships right now, and we're moving back into the Magician relationship, is this is a continuation of understanding. And you just have to accept this. Feelings, no two feelings are alike. The space, we do not need to honor each other's feelings. And if that bothers you, let me explain. Our feelings are only need to be honored when we've done the work to refine upon them. Right? It's a continuation of the moon relationship, the lessons. The space by which we understand the reason that we feel the way we do, that is how we fortify our emotions. Fortified emotions require recognition. The emotions that are energetically fortified in relationality to being able to articulate why we feel them. Because often the space by which we have energetic emotionality towards things, right? The modality by which we work through unresolved feelings, sometimes working through those emotional complications. What happens, right? What happens in the journey of feeling something complicated, but not doing the work to understand or ascertain why you have feelings about it? Boom, you're projecting it out to everyone around you, right? You get my trauma, you get my trauma, you get my trauma. And then somebody's saying, like, it's the modality by which another person works through the fact that they're saying, but I care about everyone. Why doesn't anybody energetically care about you? It's not the modality by which someone doesn't care. It's the energy that is afraid to come near you, right? It's the energy, like that, like that's the energy that's effectively energy. Like that's what happens. Like that's what happens when we're not doing the work to energetically process our emotions properly, right? Because you're just like, you're going around being like, but I've got all this care. I mean, like, I know you got all this care, but I hate to break it to you, but everybody else is experiencing trauma. I know you think that's care, but it's everybody's receiving it as trauma. So you got it. Like, we work towards making sure that what we energetically bring to each other feels like it is energetically supportive, right? It's the empathy that we do in terms of resolving our own feelings, right? Our own feelings of lack of worth, our own feelings of feeling less than, our own feelings, our lack space, right? And the more we heal our lack space and we fill that lack space, the more that we are then able to share that abundance to everyone around us, right? It's the modality by which we do the work to energetically resolve that lack within that allows to energetic abundance without, right? It's working into that space, and it's difficult, right? It's not the fact that we don't have those moments or modalities by which we doubt ourselves, and doubting ourselves is healthy to a certain extent. Everything to a certain extent is healthy, because the modality by which we understand and work to resolve upon something is the space by which we amplify how we hope to be doing something in a greater way. So we see that for a lot of this energy right now, that's what I keep on getting with these, that's what I get with like some of these kings being upright and some of these kings being in its reversal, because it does feel a little bit more towards masculine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to, right? Like it's a conversation that articulates upon paying attention to what it is that we feel hurt by, right? Because what happens, right, when we feel energetically hurt by things and we don't feel energetically secure in the self, we often come into the space of projecting it, right? The responsibility by which of what we receive from one another is often the amplification of understanding and recognizing what we bring to situations. And that's often the modality by which we articulate upon, right? This is what we talk about the betterment of ourselves. We don't look around at the world and say like, like we don't look around the world and say like this, like it's like often the journey of manifestation is not looking around and saying, where is it? It's saying, how can I embody it? Right? How can I embody it? Right? Like once you get through there, now you're getting somewhere. And that's what I keep on seeing that's potentially happening in a lot of those modalities and experiences. I just keep on seeing the energy that's working through that to a certain extent, and potentially even having conversations with others about it, right? Now, continuing to get clarification between the Ace of Wands and its reversal and that Eight of Wands and its upright. I like these two cards together because I got to tell you, an Ace of Wands with an Ace of Wands in its upright with an Ace of Wands in its reversal is a 9. One card to clarify. Hierophant, the Hierophant. And I think that what's important about that too is the observation of what we effectively identify and work through. The Hierophant in its upright talks about integrity, right? It's a conversation that we have in relationality to the integrity of the self, and working into the pathwork of integrity is often, and this is what we talk about. This is what we talk about when we say, when somebody tries to match, when someone comes towards you in a way that is completely unacceptable, there's nothing worse than you can do than match them, right? Because all you've shown them is that you lack integrity, right? That's all you've done. If someone comes towards you in a way that is completely unacceptable and you match them, congratulations. All you've shown them is that you have no integrity, right? The modality by which you recognize that, and I feel like the space by which we understand that is the space by which we understand and remember who we energetically are. Right? It's the observation of understanding that situations, right? And this is how you can heal from trauma. The modality by which you understand, right? And that's the hard part about trauma. It's not fair, right? Trauma is never fair. But the modality by which we are able to understand that we are the facilitators of fairness in a world that is often unfair, it is a call. Right? And when we answer the call to bring fairness to unfair situations, we are actively working to heal trauma everywhere we go, in everything we do. And we're not necessarily perfect at it, but we do our best. And so I feel like that's what we effectively see that's happening right now with the culmination of those moon relationships, right? It's not the fact that the energy is perfect, but they're trying. Is what I keep on. They're trying. And in the modality by which they try, they form the perfect space, because the shape by which we try literally changes. It changes everything in the most profound way. No attempt to try has not this is why trying is often the journey of becoming, because often those modalities or those experiences, when we articulate upon that frustration, right? The modality by which we feel the fear, like the energetic fury in desiring something to change and feeling the sense that it's not, but still persevering in that direction. There is nothing more blessed. There is absolutely nothing more blessed, because it doesn't allow the context of the shape of something around you to change who you energetically are. And that's what I keep on seeing in a lot of these relationships right now. These are the partnerships that recognize that even as they've been going through this retrograde cycle, even working through modalities or experiences that they understand or recognize that something is not easy, the space by which they understand and identify the shape of a counterpart that works, like the shape of the counterpart that works in the direction of trying to make something energetically better, right? That modality or experience of working towards that. I just keep on seeing like that is a lot of those energetic cycles that feel like they're stabilizing, because it's the energy that does not, I keep wondering, it's the energy that does not get volatile when something is not going in the direction by which they aspire or desire to go. It's the energy that works harder, right? Just like it's like putting that extra, like putting that extra energy in. It's allowing for that context by which we're effectively working through something. And I keep on seeing, but I keep on hearing working through but not forcing things, right? Working through but not forcing things. And so I keep on getting this in terms of that easement point. Now moving back towards those temperance relationships, clarification between the Moon card in its reversal and the King of Pentacles in its reversal. Devil card in its reversal. So let's talk a little bit about that Devil card energy in its reversal, because the Devil card energy in its reversal is effectively speaking upon or working through the context of, how do I describe this? This is the energy that is working through, like, and I want to describe this, like Venus between Mercury and Mars can be the modality by which you feel the frustration in relationality to situations that don't feel like they're energetically ideal for the self, right? It's working into those situations by which it often feels like nothing, like often those situations that you feel frustrated on, because it's like the and I need to point this out, the shape of trauma is the shape that makes you feel like nothing you do is ever right. You know? Like that is literally the sound of you being in a trauma space. Right? The sound of you being in a trauma space is the modality by which you articulate and say, nothing I feel I do is ever right. Because the modality by which we can make it easy for each other is giving each other the clarity of perspective in relationality to what it is that we aspire or desire to move towards. And so I just keep on seeing that for a lot of those, like a lot of those relationships or a lot of those situations, that ability, right? Like that ability of effectively working through something, but not just working through something. The ability of energetically working through something in such a way that the energy says to one another, like the clarity by which they effectively articulate to each other, the space by which they're looking at, like the observation of looking at the self too harshly, right? Like this is the energy that keeps on reaffirming to one another to make sure that they are looking at each other with seeing each other the way that they themselves see each other, which is the observation of understanding that often when we're working towards exceptional, we get really hard on ourselves, because like that is literally like that is the energetic, like often the space by which it feels, right? We're mad, we're upset at ourselves because we feel like we can see that energetic vision there. It's like the space by which we feel like it's so close, but it's so far away. And so that's why I keep on seeing that a lot of the energy is articulating and saying to each other, be patient as you're working towards that pathwork of perfection. Remember, perfection is a destination. It's always a bit out there. It's always a bit out there. And our ability to effectively understand that that's the nature of it helps us have perspective as we continue to move towards it. Continuing to get clarification between our King of Pentacles in its reversal and our Hierophant in its upright. One card to clarify, we've got the Justice card in its upright. So let's talk a little bit about this Justice card, because we've got here moving back towards those Magician relationships. Man, this is like, these Magician relationships, and remember how I said, you remember what I said about 2025 being the year of honoring your no, which is just like, that's what you do. Like, that's what you do in the space of like something that feels like it's energetically absurd, right? It's like, it's working through refraining. Like it's literally like, it's like meh, like is working through. And I know it's frustrating because, like, and I need to describe this. Like, I would not be surprised. Like, the thing is, and I got to point this out, the type of energy that we're experiencing right now, like the type of energy that we are experiencing is often, I keep on getting, it's often the space by which we see, and I need to point this out, Jupiter in Cancer in retrograde, it was easier. Okay? It was easier when all of the planets, it was easier when all of the planets were in retrograde. Why? Because when all of the planets were in retrograde, we didn't feel like it was like the modality by which we felt like that sense of heaviness. But Jupiter in retrograde with Uranus in retrograde is working into the context of feeling the modality of feeling heightened sensitivity of the self, right? Feeling everything like deep in your feels, feeling extra sensitive about something. But even in the modality of working through extra sensitivity, even still finding a sense of balance. And this is what's hard about it, right? Because the modality by which we recognize, you're not like, if you're feeling this energy, we're all feeling it, right? This energy itself is isolating. This energy is created to make one feel energetically isolated, right? The modality Cancer, Jupiter in Cancer is often the space by which it's like it's working through the loneliness of the self. But even, I keep on hearing, even when we're feeling energetically lonely, we don't project that loneliness in damaging directions, right? It's the modality by which we articulate or amplify upon it that allows for energetically profound things to happen. And so I just keep on seeing that for a lot of that energy, working through those modalities and experiences, I feel like what's beautiful is, and I feel like this is what's so hard, I feel like a lot of those magician relationships are literally having conversations with someone and they're talking about the fact that they've never been in a healthier relationship and they've never felt more isolated, because the modality by which you experience a healthy relationship, it should not change. It should not change the energy surrounding the self, but often it will, because those modalities or experiences that understand that feeling of energetic stabilization, right, is one that builds into the space of others who prioritize in the same way. I keep on getting, it's the understanding that often moving into healthy partnership feels like a maturation process. And when we start to give it respect in that way, right? When we almost energetically prepare each other for the changes, we don't talk about it enough. We don't prepare each other for the changes that occur when we're in healthy partnership. We spend all of our time energetically seeking it. We obsess upon the chase for it. But the arrival point into the manner or the degree by which things begin to change around us is not something that we put enough condition into. So I feel like this is almost the conversation that a lot of the energy is having, in terms of them saying nothing could have prepared me for a relationship. But the irony being, when they say nothing could prepare me for a relationship, they're not talking about what's happening inside the relationship. They're talking about what's happening outside of the relationship. Final card for today's spread, between the Devil card in its reversal and the Justice card in its upright. Two cards coming out. Boom. We've got here the 10 of Swords in its upright with the Queen of Swords in its upright. And so what do we effectively see here? We've got, again, and it's interesting too, because the Queen of Swords does not come out a lot when I'm doing my readings. The Queen of Swords does not come out a lot when I'm doing my readings. But when it does, and this is the thing about it, when we're in a good place, our Queen of Swords shouldn't come out a lot. So keep on like the space or the place by which we navigate or recognize or work towards something in such a way that one is able to identify or build towards something, but not just, I keep on getting, not just the space by which we build towards something. And I feel like it's beautiful too, because I need to point out, we've got King of Swords, and I need to stress this, and if you are a tarot nerd, go head over go head over to today's spread and take a peek at it, because even here with all of these, we've got a ridiculous amount of court cards out. Got a ridiculous amount of court cards out. But what do we have here? We got a Queen of Swords and it's upright, and we've got a King of Swords and it's upright, right? And that is working into, like, that is working through the modality or experience by which we feel energetically stabilized upon something. Like the modality or the experience by which we are able to build into the pathwork of energetic resolution, but not just the pathwork of resolution, is what I keep on seeing. The state or the space by which we are amplified and articulated in relationality to how we feel about things. And moving back through this, we're going to come back towards those moon relationships that I feel are reaching their culmination point. For a lot of those relationships, I just keep on seeing, and this is what it's felt like. Like I keep on pointing out, this is what it's felt like for those moon relationships. We've got the Queen of Swords here, and we've got the King of Swords, and we've got all this business in between. All of these external responsibilities, all of these previous commitments, all of this work that they do to balance. And what's beautiful about these relationships that I see that are coming together during this time is I keep on hearing the significant point of these relationships is the ability not to over internalize an external problem. These are the relationships that do not internalize an external problem. They understand the difference between a problem that's happening in relationality to the connection that they have with a person versus all of the minor inconveniences, all of the minutia, all of the external factors that feel like they get in the way of a perfectly good connection. Like, there you go. It's literally like looking at the universe in the connection being like, there you go. There you go again, trying to break a perfectly good connection. It's like, look what you did. You're trying to add anxiety, that perfectly good connection. There you go. You're trying to create all those energetic hurdles to a perfectly good connection, right? And this is the energy that just doesn't let it affect them. Doesn't allow it to change their energetic direction. I just keep on seeing it's the energy. It's like, it's the eye on the prize energy is what I keep on seeing. It's like, you know what I mean? And so for those energies, like that's the gift, because I keep on seeing like, and that's what's beautiful. And if you take a look at today's spread, you'll see it, that what do? They keep their swords pointed outwards, right? They keep their swords pointed outwards, not inwards, right? They understand and identify and move away all the energetic detritus to be able to come towards each other. So I feel like that's a lot of the space. And for a lot of the energy right now that's healing in solitude, this is the energy that understands that when we're in healthy connection, nothing stands in the way of it, right? When we're in healthy connection, like healthy connection is not about, when you build that healthy connection, it's not about like what the energetic issue is, right? It's working through the understanding that everything is possible so long as the manifestation goal is mutual, right? It's the observation of what it's going to take to get there, right? That's the conversation that we often have in relationality to a healthy connection. And that does not require us to depart from our standards, right? This is why we talk about the fact that we don't say we'll do anything. Because when we say we'll do anything, a relationship means nothing, right? Because the space by which we say we'll do anything is the space by which a relationship means nothing, because it's the understanding of who we are, right? The observation of doing that work, but doing that work into the space by which we understand where our standards exist. That's a lot of that energy that effectively articulates or amplifies upon that work. But even in the modality by which they articulate and amplify upon that work, I just keep on seeing that like a lot of those relationships are, I feel like they're profoundly healing, but the space by which they're profoundly healing is like, this is the energy that's like working in, like, that's why I keep on getting the energy in solitude right now is understanding or building into the context of being the person. I feel like a lot of energy right now in separation is like, this is how I find them, right? Because the energy doesn't even feel like they're in separation. They feel like they're in solitude, right? They feel energetically good. They feel energetically stable with the self, right? And now it's like, once you feel that, again, the energy's like, it's not the feeling like they feel like they need to desperately reach for it, but they're actively looking for it. While for the energy right now, like the energy right now that's moving into solitude, I feel like these are conversations as it relates to the ability to articulate upon, when we're looking, like when we're looking for an excuse, we'll always find a reason, is what I keep on hearing. Right? When we're looking for an excuse, we'll always find a reason, or the modality or the experience of understanding or working through something, but not just in the space by which we energetically work through something, but the space or the direction by which we articulate or define upon the space by which we articulate or define upon something that we do, but not just even in the context by which we define upon what we do, but what we, but articulating to one another how, like, I just keep on seeing the healthy relationship does not require breaks, right? It's not the space by which another person articulates that something feels like it's too energetically heavy, right? Because in the healthy relationship, if it's heavy, we get stronger, is what I keep on hearing, right? The healthy relationship is the space by, if it feels heavy, we get stronger. We work upon our strength. We don't articulate the fact that we need to take an energetic break from it to find our strength for it, is what I keep on seeing. So for a lot of those relationships, I feel like there's healing that's happening in the observation of recognizing or identifying what it is that one is able to put that sense of perseverance towards. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now, the World card. Now, for a lot of these relationships, and I feel like we're effectively seeing the culmination of a lot of those moon relationships. So we're starting to transit into a new energetic relationship cycle at this time. And it hasn't become completely clear to me yet, but I feel like there's something that we're seeing in terms of working through the observation of what feels energetically empowering, or what feels like it is, like one is able to articulate or define or refine upon something in such a way that allows profound things to be possible. And it's a continuation of that lesson that we were working through, which is, it's not enough, right? It's not enough to have an aspiration in relationality to a relationship goal. It's not enough to articulate the desire to have one, so much as one must work into the space of facilitating the ability to be able to identify what it looks like, or how one experiences it, or how one moves towards it. So I keep on seeing that for a lot of the relationships, doing that work, being able to effectively articulate, I keep on seeing there's a lot of energy right now that is moving into, I keep on hearing, moving into new uncharted territory. But even in the space by which they're moving into new uncharted territory, they're letting go, right? They're letting go of unhealthy energetic cycles. And what do we often articulate? The thing about an unhealthy energetic cycle is the space by which another person is potentially repeating something that they did in the past that was not necessarily beneficial towards them, right? We often have these modalities by which we find ourselves. So those experiences, or those modalities by which we feel that sense of moving backwards, like that's what we always have to be conscientious about with Jupiter in Cancer. Right? It often talks towards that how enticing it is to go back to unhealthy energetic patterns, because that modality by which we navigate, and this is why we often have to question what we feel comfortable towards, because the space by which we feel comfortable, it's not just whether something is comfortable, it's whether it's nourishing, whether it feels like it's creating something that is robust and positive for us, or if it's bringing us back to something that we effectively were trying to energetically avoid in the future. So I feel like for a lot of the energy working through those modalities or experiences, that observation and being able to effectively refine upon something, or identify it, or recognize the work or the shape by which one is working upon it, I feel like that's like, don't let yourself feel triggered if you're going through experiences in that modality. Understand and recognize that the past informs us, right? The past becomes an energetic gift when we let go of our triggers, because then we can look at the past to be able to refine upon something that we're doing in a way that allows us to build a future that is energetically exceptional for us. So, and I feel like that's happening across all of the frequencies right now. So make sure, make sure, and it's not about the space by which we let go of emotions, but understanding that healthy emotions have clear directions attached to them. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you so much for being here and receiving it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, please remember it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site, so I would encourage you to do it there. A couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who participated in our recent class on the judgment card. Our next class will be held on Thursday, January 15th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the World card. If you'd like to become a part of that tarot class program, all you need to do is head on over to my stack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my stack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a paid subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive. Now, it's not necessary to catch up. I'll be doing my best to give you an update on everything we've studied prior to beginning that next class. But if you would like to catch up, now is a great time to join. You've got a bit of time before our next class, and you'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything we've learned and studied thus far. And if you become a founding member, not only will you receive a discount on the whole year's worth of readings, but you'll also receive a complimentary, you'll also have access to over 20 hours worth of material in the archive, and you'll also have access to a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage, moving towards your tarot goals going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my stack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule. And you'll also have access to my Mystic Meditation articles, which give you updates on everything we've been experiencing energetically in the cards in article form. I also would like to take this time to invite you to head over to my stack to learn more about a very special retreat program that I'll be offering this August. We will be traveling to Italy to study and to sharpen our tarot skills while also understanding the deeper context of the culture by which we found the tarot was first written and discovered and documented, to be able to understand and unlearn the history and that allowed for the tarot to be able to flourish and thrive. We will be traveling to Tuscany, Rome, and Florence, and I would love for you to be a part of that journey. And additionally, anyone who becomes a part of that retreat will also be receiving a complimentary mentorship class with me to be included in that program. All you need to do if you'd like to learn more about that is head on over to my stack as well. Finally, I want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly, as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more personal journey. Also, I want to let you guys know that you can also purchase weekly tarot insight packages from me, which is 4 30-minute readings, weekly or bi-weekly, as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey, but at a discounted rate if you want to have more of those consistent reads. And I also want to let you guys know that I now offer dream interpretation readings, which can be purchased for per dream or as a series. If you purchase a series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again